Right now, American frontier AI labs are commanding astronomical valuations. OpenAI is targeting $850 billion, and Anthropic sits well past $1 trillion. These numbers rest on the premise that the entire future of artificial intelligence belongs to closed, proprietary systems. Because the physical hardware, the GPUs and data center grids needed to run these models is temporarily scarce, these companies operate under a massive price umbrella. Demand outstrips supply, allowing them to charge hefty profit margins every time a developer accesses their intelligence through an API. But over the past year, labs like Alibaba and Moonshot AI have released a flood of highly capable open-weight models that rival the American state-of-the-art, and they are giving the model weights away for free. A business model built on charging a high premium for artificial scarcity is vulnerable to any competitor willing to reduce the price of that exact same intelligence to zero. This has created a bizarre dynamic in the startup ecosystem. Instead of building on top of American infrastructure, Western AI developers are increasingly downloading Chinese open-weight models to bootstrap their own applications. This reliance extends to critical infrastructure. When American cybersecurity teams need to analyze live malware payloads, they often find themselves blocked by the safety filters built into models like Claude and ChatGPT. To do their jobs, they are forced to run unconstrained Chinese models, like GLM 5.2, in offline private environments. Why are American innovators and infrastructure defenders being pushed away from domestic technology and forced to rely on foreign, state-backed AI? Strict American terms of service are currently colliding with an aggressive Chinese economic strategy, creating a dependency on foreign infrastructure that grows with every new open-weight release. In a technique called distillation, an expensive frontier model acts as a teacher, passing its logic down to train a smaller student model. Chinese developers capture outputs from premium American APIs to rapidly train their open-weight models near the state-of-the-art for a fraction of the cost. Here is where the legal paradox kicks in. American frontier labs explicitly forbid distillation in their terms of service. An American startup building an open-source model is legally blocked from using domestic models to teach their own systems. Because Chinese open-weight models carry no such restrictions, Western developers simply download them to generate their synthetic training data. They end up distilling the distillation, just with a mandated detour through Chinese laboratories. By attempting to build a walled garden and protect their intellectual property, American tech monopolies have inadvertently forced the global open-source community to lay its foundation on Chinese architecture. You might wonder why the Chinese state allows its labs to spend billions of dollars on compute and research, only to give the resulting models away for free. It relies on an economic strategy called commoditizing your complement. Driving the cost of one product, like software, down to zero causes the demand for the physical hardware it runs on to surge upward. While Silicon Valley extracts its value through digital subscriptions and high-margin APIs, China's economic power sits in physical manufacturing, heavy supply chains, and advanced robotics. By flooding the market with highly capable, virtually free open-weight models, China drastically lowers the cost of integrating machine reasoning into drones and automated assembly lines. They treat the intelligence layer as a cheap infrastructure expense, while the tangible physical goods capture the real economic value. This strategy intentionally targets the software business model to cement Chinese supremacy in the physical economy. As global hardware capacity expands and power grids adapt, the current supply bottlenecks in compute will inevitably dissolve, and with them, the artificial scarcity of digital intelligence will evaporate. This chart shows exactly what happens in a mature commodity market. As the supply curve shifts outward, the market clearing price plummets downward, compressing relentlessly toward the marginal cost of the lowest cost producer. Under these conditions, a generated token of reasoning ceases to be a premium product. It becomes a basic interchangeable utility, no different than bandwidth or electricity. Valuations built entirely on walled gardens and premium API margins cannot defy the gravitational pull of total commoditization. If the United States wants to retain its edge, policymakers and frontier labs must stop treating open-source AI as an inherent security threat and recognize it as the primary arena of geopolitical competition. To compete, the domestic ecosystem requires specific policy shifts. Congress needs to explicitly codify training data fair use, and regulators must ensure American developers are legally permitted to distill domestic frontier models without violating terms of service. A dynamic, unrestricted domestic ecosystem leverages the power of open innovation to outpace global rivals more effectively than a heavily regulated, closed market. Continuing to lock down the domestic ecosystem risks handing the strategic advantage of open innovation and the developers who rely on it to Beijing.